convocatoria, ustedes en sus carpetas no me voy a detener en estos ver cómo contribuyen a la conformación de una capa de la evolución humana que tiene que ver con el conocimiento, que tiene que ver con la ciencia, con la interacción, que se apoya en la tecnología para hacernos más productivos, debería hacernos más solidarios y muy particularmente que permite la construcción de condiciones de mayor equidad, que ha sido uno de los factores fundamentales de la Ley de Telecomunicaciones y del Fondo Nacional de Telecomunicaciones que se previó en la legislación costarricense. No se trata tan solo de que la apertura se justifica en función de la equidad, se justifica en muchos niveles de decisión, pero no podemos pensar equitativo si no tenemos en realidad acceso universal a las telecomunicaciones, a la tecnología y a los medios de producción moderna que tienen que ver con el desarrollo de la inteligencia, con la interacción entre los seres humanos, con las formas en que pensamos, producimos y nos relacionamos. Para mí es motivo de particular orgullo el poder lograr que el día de hoy don Amadou Touré nos hable de esa dimensión del futuro de las telecomunicaciones, no en términos culturales o antropológicos o filosóficos, sino más bien desde la perspectiva del organismo mundial que define las relaciones, los estándares, que estudia las tecnologías y que tiene una posición de tanta avanzada. Nos une al doctor Touré una larga trayectoria y una amistad construida en muchas actividades profesionales en las que hemos coincidido a lo largo de la última década, así es que es un gran gusto que esté acá como amigo de Costa Rica y también un gran honor para nosotros poder no solamente escucharlo con su visión tan de avanzada, sino muy particularmente ofrecerles a ustedes también la oportunidad de conocerlo y de interactuar con él sobre esos temas. Muchas gracias.
Agradecemos a la ministra Clotilde Fonseca por sus palabras. Seguidamente escucharemos las palabras del señor Amadou Touré. El señor Touré, como se les mencionó, es el secretario general de la Unión Internacional de Telecomunicaciones, cargo que ocupa desde el año 2007. Él cuenta con una maestría en Ingeniería Eléctrica del Instituto de Electrónica, de Telecomunicaciones del Emigrado y un doctorado de la Universidad de Electrónica, Telecomunicaciones e Informática de Moscú. El doctor Touré se ha comprometido a transformar a la Unión Internacional de Telecomunicaciones en una organización innovadora, progresista y dispuesta a hacer frente a los desafíos que plantea el nuevo entorno de las tecnologías de la información. Las resoluciones de la Cumbre Mundial sobre la Sociedad de la Información, así como a lograr los objetivos del desarrollo del milenio. Cuenta con diferentes méritos y títulos honoríficos, los cuales pueden, entre los que se destacan, Caballero de la Orden Nacional de Mali, Doctor Honoris Causa de la Academia Nacional de Telecomunicaciones de Odessa, Ucrania, Doctor Honoris Causa de la Universidad Nacional de Moldavia, miembro de la Real Academia Sueca de Ciencias de Ingeniería de Suecia, y doctorado Honoris Causa por la Universidad de Tecnología de Wrocław de Polonia. Seguidamente, las palabras del señor Touré.
Thank you very much, Angela, and thank you, Minister Clotilde. It is a real pleasure and honor for me to be here in Costa Rica this week to especially be here the first week after I returned back from our plenipotentiary conference that took place last month in Guadalajara, Mexico. As you know, the plenipotentiary conference was a landmark event with over 2,500 delegates. We also, I should also mention that at this landmark conference, Costa Rica was elected at the council for the first time, and I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate you for it. This is a very important achievement, and I believe it is a new opportunity for us to have a very close working relationship. I count on Costa Rica and on my personal friendship with the Minister and this country to make use of it for improving international telecommunications worldwide. As you know, ITU is the oldest organization of the United Nations family. It's by far the oldest. We are almost 80 years older than the UN itself. ITU was created in 1865, so 145 years this year. UN was only created after the World War II, and we joined immediately after, of course, as a specialized agency of the United Nations. And we are today the specialized agency in charge of telecommunications and information and communication technology within the system. And of course, I'm sure you all know the three sectors, the work that is carried out in the three sectors. The standardization sector, which was the foundation of the organization itself. When it was created in 1865, it was to standardize the Morse code, the telegraph. At the time, it was International Telegraph Union at the time, and then it became International Telephone Union, and then Telecommunication Union. There were talks a few years ago about changing the name again to be International ICT Union, or IoT, keeping the ITU acronym still, but for Information and Technology Union. So there were many debates over that, but the reality is that the name is not important. What we do is what is important. A lot of standards, global standards, have been built in this organization over the past years. The radio communication department sector also is one very important sector of the union. Radio communication, of course, as you know, are the most important things today, because we are always on the move, always connected, wireless communications will have a serious impact on our lives, and the issues of spectrum management become as important as managing natural resources, water, oil, or other resources. And we all know the power of automation today. Information is power. And people will always need to communicate. We have actually spearheaded back in the 80s, the Secretary General at the time, late Pekatarjan, who passed away this year. He took to the United Nations the concept of basic telecommunication being a basic human right. And I think that concept is very important. It's becoming even more evident today that everything is relying on communications. Our third very important sector, but before I mention that, the radio communication sector does deal not only with managing spectrum, but also managing the orbital locations, the satellites. The geostationary satellites are very important elements of communications today, and very well advanced in terms of technology. And countries like Costa Rica will continue to benefit from the goods of satellite communications. I'm myself a satellite engineer. I spent all my life in satellite engineering before ITU. That's probably the only thing that I know better. But I'm no longer an engineer anyway. I used to be an engineer, but I'm not an engineer anymore. I'm dealing with policy, and policy is being dealt in the development center of ITU, helping developing countries to have the right legal and regulatory framework that will help to enable growth in telecommunications. Let me also mention the fact that ITU is in addition to being the oldest organization of the UN family, it is also the only one with 191 member states, 92 member states, because we had 92nd member just last month at the Presidential Conference. It was Timor-Leste, which did not join after its independence, only joined this year. In addition to the 192 members, we have over 700 private companies working in the organization. And that's a very key element for the ITU. The only difference between member states and private sector is when it comes to voting. And we only vote on not important issues such as electing the Secretary General. But on real issues such as making a standard or agreeing on a spectrum, we always make sure that we have a consensus among all our members. And some people may wonder, how can you have consensus among 192 member states, knowing the ideological fights that are on many other fronts? But fortunately, inside the ITU, it happens on a daily basis. It is no exception when you see a resolution or a proposal made by US that is supported immediately by Iran. It happens in ITU on a daily basis. Last month during the Presidential Conference, there were several cases of that. I know in other arenas, like the Human Rights Council or other organizations, if a proposal by US is supported by Iran, US may take back the floor and say, maybe something is wrong with what I said. I withdraw what I said. But that happens on a daily basis because we have a technical approach to issues. And technical problems always have one technical solution. As an engineer, I'm trained to know that if a problem, that all problems have a solution. If a problem does not have a solution, then it's a false problem, then it's not a problem. We have managed that successfully over 145 years, and we still continue that very good collaboration between all our member states. When there is a proposal made that is not suitable for the smallest island in the world, he will raise the issue, so nobody has the right of veto right, nobody will impose a solution, we'll go back to the drawing board and try to find a solution that is workable for all. And we've succeeded in doing that over 145 years. And therefore I'm very pleased to be in that organization where we have public and private sector working hand in hand. And how our standards are developed. standards are developed by private sector bringing the research and development in the ITU. They, even competing companies bring their work in the union, and at the end of the discussion we decide which one of their research and development is the most mature, or which direction is more promising, and we continue the research in that direction. They go back and come back again with more progress. And at one point in time we decide this is mature enough to be a standard, and we publish it. And we even have a very soft way of publishing our standards. They are called recommendations. It's very soft. It's not imposed, but it becomes global. This is why someone having a phone manufacturer here or in Brazil can talk to a phone that is manufactured in China. And the call will go through different types of equipment, from switching centers that are completely different systems to optical fibers or satellites. The thing is that no one has been denied a call because of lack of standard. And this is one of the really good success stories of the union. We standardize everything from, television networks to coding of telephone numbering to country codes, national country codes as registered in the ITU. The moment one country becomes independent and recognized by the United Nations, he is assigned a country code and all the spectrum that comes with it immediately in the union. And we've done that very successfully. Today, the world is all depending on communications. You cannot see any citizen of this planet who is not using communication in one way or another. Governments rely on communications to reach out to citizens. Businesses rely on communication as well to do better. And the communications have been in the center of all of the major debates of the last few years. Just the most recent ones, climate change. We're not part of the problem, but we're part of the solution. Through more efficient use of communications, you can, first of all, save energy. You can also use alternative to other high carbon dioxide consuming industries like transport. Instead of traveling, you can have a video conference today and save on carbon dioxide, save on energy, and improve the quality of life. We are talking about digital broadcasting by 2015 that will save up to 40% of energy for transmitters around the world. So we are contributing in the climate change debate, and in Cancun we will be very active there with the report that came out of the plenipotentiary conference. We were very active in Copenhagen last year. We will continue to be there. ICT is part of the solutions and not part of the problem. The global financial crisis, what ICT has to do with it is only sector that was not affected by the global financial crisis. In fact, it's the only sector that came to the rescue to the financial crisis, because it's the only industry that has been creating new jobs. Only one company went bankrupt during the whole process, not them. They would have gone bankrupt anyway, even if it was not the financial crisis, because of their business model. You don't put all your eggs in one basket in this industry. So the sector will continue to have a very high impact. Emergency communications is another area where ICT has played a key role. Natural disasters are happening as a result of climate change, and also there are man-made disasters and also natural catastrophes that are happening. And thanks to communication, you can first of all monitor, predict, and prevent some of them. And those that you can prevent, you can come to the rescue. We were very active in the last earthquakes in both Chile and Haiti, where we sent satellite terminals to the rescue. And we continue to provide communication and monitoring devices for many other natural disasters, and including tsunamis and others. And therefore, communication will continue to play a key role in this. The world has changed over the past 10, 15 years. 15 years ago, the world had only 200 million mobile phones in the world. This year in September, we have reached the 5 billion mark, 5 billion mobile users worldwide. Of course, Costa Rica needs to improve a lot on this because you have one of the lowest penetration in mobile in the world. Only in this sub-region, you're only ahead of Cuba, and that's something that needs to be improved. And I think we have to work on that. I'm provoking you here so that you do better. But of course, it can be only improved by way of regulatory environment that will bring in more players, and I'm sure you are working on it. I've seen the latest actions that are being taken by the regulatory authority in ensuring more competition in the market. They've been. I was here 2 years ago, and I had a presentation at the Parliament. It's called the Assembly of Parliament. The National Assembly. I made a presentation there to some lawmakers when they were discussing the free trade issues. I was, of course, advocating more private sector involvement. Personally, I came straight from private sector to ITU, so I have a private sector background, and I believe in the partnership between public and private sector. And this is one of the key strategies we are injecting to our member states. We are saying there is a role for both public and private sector. They are complementary. Public sector should put in place the right regulatory and legal framework in place, the right environment, and should also invest in capacity building for services and applications that become so that you prepare a workforce for the industry. And private sector will invest. They will make profit though in the process. They will make profit, and it's not a crime to make profits, because that's how you create new jobs. As a private sector member, if I can make profit in an industry, I will invest in it. I will not take away the profit. I will reinvest it to make more profits. That's the rule of business, and it applies everywhere. There has been a tremendous growth in the mobile sector in the world because of the paradigm change in the environment, and especially in the marketing approaches that have been put in place by the private sector. They came up with prepaid arrangements for people who do not have bank accounts, who do not have physical address. They are communicating now. So the rules of competition will enable prices to go down, because there will be three parameters that the regulator will need to look at in order to stimulate more the competition. One, are the prices going down for the subscribers? Everything goes around the users, the consumer. You have to defend the consumer. Is prices going down? Is coverage going up? Is service quality going up? Those three elements. If they go in the wrong direction, then there is a need for an additional player in the game. So to shake it up. And that happens, that rules applies almost everywhere. When I was elected in 2006, I took office on January 2007. First thing I tried to put is to have a new approach for business. We created what we call Connect the World series, and we started with Africa, Connect Africa. They were behind everyone else, so we needed to urgently help them. And my point to them in the summit, and we'll organize soon Connect America. Actually, we plan to organize Connect America Summit next year here in America to try and have a regional approach to the issues and bring in industry leaders to talk to each other. I was literally saying to the African heads of states that for 50 years the development program was based on 3 elements: help, assistance, and charity. And it didn't work for 50 years. You try something, it doesn't work, you change. And this industry doesn't need help, doesn't need charity, doesn't need assistance. If you have good policy, private sector will come in and invest. And in this industry, if you have a good project, you will always have funding for it to make it happen. That despite the current financial crisis, it's the only return, only industry that has immediate return on investment. Less than 3 years, in most of the cases, you have a return, good return on your investment. And therefore, there are potentials there. We do the Connect series, Connect the World series at the regional level because we want to ensure that we analyze regional problems together. Sometimes neighboring countries have similar problems and we can have economies of scale, and we bring in industry so that they know what the plans are by others. And most of the time the review is going to be in a spiral way. Spiral will go up. If you know that there are plans for fiber optics in this area, you will review the manufacturers of the routers and other services will say, hey, there are opportunities here, so they will increase their investment. And the other type of services will also know that there are more and more, so it will go up. And those are the type of approaches we've been doing. The issue of competition will continue to be a very important element in driving the service take-up. Now, given the level of penetration, especially of mobile telecommunications today, mobile telephony, the problem that we are facing 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, which was the digital divide, is now changing from digital divide on telephony to broadband divide. That's the next big challenge that we are facing. This is why I put together this year, in January, the Broadband Commission, and I invited the President of UNESCO to join me in this, to organize it together. And we got the President of Rwanda to be co-chairman with Carlos Slim Elu from Mexico to be the co-chairman from private sector of this. Our goal is to link Millennium Development Goals with the broadband take-up. We want to use ICT as an accelerator to meet the goals. You will never meet the goals in health or education without e-health and e-education, just 2 examples. And therefore, we have been able to prepare a very good report that was presented to the UN Secretary General on September 19th in New York, just at the eve of the summit on the Millennium Development Goals, which was on the 20th in New York by the General Assembly. That was a landmark report that I believe that is being used as a tool now to accelerate progress in the world. While we are doing this, some of the key elements important for ITU is not only access, because we mentioned this during the World Summit on Information Society in Tunis in 2005. What are the key elements for us because we are today in the information society, we are entering in the future of the knowledge society. And what will be the elements for entering the knowledge society? Knowledge society is a society where not only everyone has access to communications. Access is not enough, you have to use it. So everyone has access, everyone uses information. ICT. Everyone can create information because that's the creativity part of information. It's the powerful part of it. And everyone has something to contribute in that society. Last but not least, the fourth element is to share information. Information is the only thing that you can share. When you share it, it multiplies. Anything else, you share it, divide it. And its power today, and its economic power as well. And therefore, there is a real opportunity for us. So we go for not only access, but affordable access. The affordability comes out of it, and only through competition we can bring down the cost. Today, unfortunately, you see that in developed countries, the top 20 developed countries, you will see that the cost of broadband is 0.3 to 0.5% of their monthly salary. And the next 20 on the scale is probably 1 to 2% of their monthly salary. But for the least developed countries, it's 100% of their monthly salary cost of access to broadband. It's not acceptable. We need to change that, and that's why we're proposing strategies to do that. But the good news is that over the past 5 years, the cost of broadband has been decreasing by 40% annually, and therefore there is hope, a lot of potential that this will go down. You reached this year 2 million users of internet globally, so we need to be sure that we have the remaining 4.5 billion or 5 billion people to be also connected to internet. Another very important thing on the agenda of IGU is cybersecurity. This is actually one of the reasons why I'm here. I signed yesterday with President Chinchilla an open letter to all heads of state, leaders of this world, to help us to work together to cooperate in protecting children in the cyberspace. Protecting children in the cyberspace is just one step inside our global cybersecurity agenda, because as you know, cybersecurity in any form of security has to deal with content, has to deal with privacy, and therefore there is something can become sometimes ideological, and therefore there are a lot of fights around that. In order to avoid countries fighting over debating having long debate over even on definition of crime, sometimes a country, in one country, depending on its religious motivations, pornography can be a crime. Another country, if it's another, it is freedom of behavior. It's not a crime. So, but while we are debating, criminals are working. So we have to come with something common that everyone will agree on, as children. And the moment we put Child Online Protection Initiative on the table, we got everyone now on the table. I asked at that time, when I was first elected in 2007, I came here and asked President Oscar Arias Sanchez to be the patron of my global cybersecurity agenda, and he agreed. He was the very first sponsor of that patron of the cybersecurity agenda. I was very honored by that. He is after all a Nobel Prize laureate and a very strong figure in the world. And I was very happy that when President Chinchilla took office, she accepted the role again to continue the legacy of a president. And she wanted to be even more concrete. She wanted action. That's why we decided Child Online Protection. What are we going to do concretely? And she's very heading this effort globally from now on, and I'm very proud of that. She's a powerful woman with strong vision, clear vision of what she wants to achieve, and especially with big dreams for this country and for the world. I want to make use of that to bring in other heads of state around the table so that we do something to protect our most important asset, our children. So we are in that mode now in cybersecurity, and those efforts will continue. Over the past few years, we've seen, unfortunately, cyber attacks grow. I was just on the phone this morning, and that's why I came five minutes late with some journalists in Los Angeles talking about this new war that has been sent to Iran, between Israel and Iran. And the first time we're seeing a physical infrastructure being attacked. Normally it is the cyberspace, the digital world that is being attacked. But now for the first time we've seen that. So we have crossed a very important border now. You know, the problem we are facing is that the next world war will happen in the cyberspace. And that's going to be dangerous for everyone, because you see how we're relying on the cyberspace. Countries can clone themselves to another, attack another country, and the wrong country will be counterattacked by another one. We've seen some countries completely attacked. Estonia was the first casualty in 2007. The whole network had to go down, which was not a malicious attack. It was a simple high traffic on demand on the traffic, to the point that they had to stop everything. Imagine if you were to send 1 million empty trucks to the city of San Jose. You will block everything, even if they are empty. No bombs, no chemical products, nothing. Just simple that. And that would happen. The concept of superpower is no longer there when you're talking about cybersecurity. It's individual brain power. Every citizen of this planet has the power. Everybody in this room here has the power to create something that can be destructive. The worst virus ever made was the I Love You virus. I'm sure you all remember it, 2001. It was made by someone in the Philippines from a laptop less than $1,000. Someone living it was in a wooden house. That's the power of the thing. So the superpower concept is no longer there. This is why there's a need for an international framework of cooperation. And this is why I'm advising all countries to the 5 main directions that have been given to me by the roadmap given to me by my high-level expert group that I put together in 2007. That's worked for 1 year. One, legal and regulatory framework in order to criminalize crime. 2, to have a technical readiness, national level. 3, a national coordination, structural level, because it's no longer an issue of Ministry of Science and Technology, or Ministry of Defense, or Justice, Ministry of Health, Education. All have something to say in it. It needs to be coordinated at national level for capacity building. And 5, international cooperation. My dream is to sign a cyber treaty, a cyber peace treaty one day from the world, where everyone commits itself, one, to give access to its systems in the cyberspace, first of all. You need to give them access first before you protect them. Second, you need to protect them. And third, you need to commit yourself not to harbor terrorists or criminals in your territory. And fourth, which is very important, commit yourself not to attack another country first. That's what we've seen in the latest war that has been sent. And this is very dangerous. It's a very important step that has been taken, unfortunately, in the wrong direction. must avoid that. So, and the best way to win a war is to avoid it in the first place. So ITU is working with other organizations and member states and private sector to put the necessary framework to have a cyber peace and a cyber security in the world. The other issue that I will be talking about now is the future of the industry, where we are going. We've seen many new technologies coming up over the past few years. Nanotechnology is very moving in the right direction. Everything is being miniaturized, and communication devices, because of nanotechnology, will be sometime under our skin. You can monitor heart, you can monitor devices inside your body from now on, nanotechnology, power of communications. Cloud computing is a very important area where direction is going. So therefore, you need no longer to have the computing power in your office or at home. You just have to have a good link. You don't need not to care about all of this. And it will bring in, of course, more security, of course. Those are two directions that are moving fast. And of course, we're moving from mobile revolution to broadband revolution. The first decade of the millennium was dominated by mobile growth, mobile telephone. The second decade will be dominated by mobile broadband. And we need to be ready for that revolution and put the necessary framework in place and take all the benefits of the information society, creativity, creating jobs. Every country has the ability to produce something and contribute to this global civilization. And so many those are the new directions. And ITU will, of course, will be very busy in managing spectrum, because there will be more demand on the spectrum. There is already some digital dividend that people are looking at after the digital broadcasting moves that we planned in 2015. We'll have some savings in spectrum that will be taken into account. Already in 2017 in the World Radio Conference, we did the biggest reallocation of spectrum ever since 1947. And we did that very successfully. I was very proud because it was my first World Radio Conference as Secretary General. And we had a great challenge in making sure that everyone comes out of it, in fact, equally and happy. Because, or at least not everybody was not happy, equally and happy. But we came out of that conference, everybody equally happy. We were able to have reallocation for all of the spectrum we wanted. And I believe that will last at least for the next 30 years. From now on, every 2 years we do the World Radio Conferences. We'll fine-tune our spectrums allocation, but it will not be a big change. We'll have more pressure from ITU to do more interoperability because there will be more new devices coming in. And the standardization sector will continue to be very, very, very active in that area for more interoperability between systems so that one device can be used. We'll have this IPv6 also coming up. We'll have more machine-to-machine communications. We have man-to-man communication, man-to-machine communication, and machine-to-machine communications that will be driving. And with IPv6, all machines will have an IP address and will be able to, therefore, to identify themselves and communicate with one another. We're very closely with the car industry, for instance. The car of the future, which is today, will be able, in case of accident, will be able to immediately, when the airbag has been activated, the driver could be alone and lose consciousness and will not be able to call for help. The car will be able to do that for him. The moment the airbag goes off, the car will send a message to police, ambulance, and firefighters immediately, one single number, because the driver may not have lost consciousness. And the car will give the geographical location of the accident, and therefore they can easily come to the people. The car will do another additional thing, will send a message in the vicinity of the accident area, so that other cars coming in can know that you're entering an accident zone, slow down, not to create one more accident. So life will be much safer. The house of the future will be having all of these devices with IP addresses and capabilities of communication. Just like in the car, I gave an example of an accident, but in case of failure of engine or something in the car on the highway, the driver will receive a message on the screen. Don't worry, I've notified the nearest repair shop, which is 20 kilometers from here. We have informed him that it is this part of the engine that is at fault. You know that already now. With your engine, even the bulb goes off. The car tells you that the right bulb goes off, so we can do the same thing for other parts of the car. And we'll tell the repair shop, so he doesn't have to come look at the car and then go back for the part. He'll come back directly. And it will tell you, by the way, you have some messages waiting in your inbox. Please go ahead and reply them, or set up a video conference for your next meeting if you're going to be late. You can do that in the car by going. The living room of the future will have the same thing with all these wide spaces, the spectrum that will be allocated among different devices. Your washing machine, if it has a problem, will send a message to the manufacturer saying this part is at fault, and you will receive a call from someone who tells you that your washing machine is almost about to be broken. You just give us a time when I can come with the piece to replace it. Or your fridge will make the orders to the supermarket. Milk, butter, things that are missing. It will make the orders and will deliver at your house. So this is the future that is already today, that is happening. And it will put more demand on spectrum. And ITU will be very busy in managing that, making sure that there is no interference between those devices as well, and there is a smooth usage of them. This is what is happening. And of course, with all of the cybersecurity issues that come with it, a medical doctor can now do a surgical intervention from distance. But the bad news is that a criminal could enter the patient's database here in Costa Rica from Australia and just move the comma in his blood analysis and let his own doctor kill him, because he will give him the right dose. This is dangerous. Or child pornographers could enter the all schools database and invade our children. Those are the small dangers that we have to face at the same time. Therefore, there will be more pressure, more demand on us to move forward. So this is the future that is clear next to us. And I'm very pleased that for the next 4 years, our Presidential Conference has made resolutions that will enable us to be very active in the next 4 years and have a meaningful impact on our industry. Issues on climate change, issues on interoperability, some resolutions, new resolutions on accessibility, some new resolutions on broadband access, some new resolutions on IPv6 and internet governance has been put in place so that we work together with the rest of the industry and to have an orderly growth in the system. So these are some of the key challenges the organization is facing. When I was elected, I committed myself to, of course, act more in cybersecurity. And I'm doing that not only within the member states, I'm doing it within the UN system as well. I've committed myself to be more attentive to small islands, developing states, and landlocked countries in terms of development. And I've committed myself to give more attention to spectrum issues, spectrum management issues. And we are doing fantastic work in that. We are the only organization that can deal with that. You can only manage spectrum on a global manner because the spectrum, the frequency you're using here can have an effect on the frequency being used somewhere in Australia or elsewhere or in Russia. And therefore it needs to be very well coordinated from one single source in order to be successful. So those are some of the challenges we are facing, and I would like to again thank you for your attention. And of course I will be ready to answer any question. I want to take the opportunity to again tell you how much I'm very honored to be here and having met President Chinchilla, very charismatic leader, and having her support for my initiative, Child Online Protection, and having Minister Clotilde Fonseca as the partner for development. And I always say that international affairs between member states, between organizations and member states, come down to one simple thing: personal human relations. It will make or break things. And we will make good use of our personal relationships and personal friendship to make good contribution to the global community. ITU is a fantastic place. I'm simply delighted that I am secretary of this union, this great union, at a time where all those things are happening, good things are happening in the world, and with ICT in the forefront. I can assure that ITU will not fail its mission, but we can only succeed thanks to you. I would like to invite you all to be more active in the ITU, all three sectors, and we have some study groups where you can register and be active from distance and also participate, especially more so now that Costa Rica is a member of the Council, and you will be called to contribute more in the management of the Union and its future as well. Thank you very much.
Agradecemos al señor Touré por honrarnos con su presencia y por su enriquecedora exposición. Seguidamente abrimos un espacio para consultas o comentarios del público.
Yes, hello, my name is Miguel Montero. I work for RAXA, which is part of ISE Group. I have just a question about IP version 6, which I know that the whole world needs to go into it because there are no more IP addresses in version 4 left, or very soon there will not be. But I see that, I don't know, industry and government and everybody's going very slow into that worldwide. So if it's in a few months we're going to have no IP version 4 addresses. So how is it going to move at the pace it needs to do? I don't see that very clearly.
No, I fully agree with you. We need to move fast in the IPv6. There have been a lot of internal fights on who is managing this, but I think that those fights now are over, and we know that all organizations have something to contribute to it positively. And, but I agree with you, we need to do it fast. But as usual, we'll always wait the last minute to move forward. The countries that have the largest ones are the ones affected, but the new ones who do not have the large ones that can go indirectly, they are also waiting for others to migrate so that they can be communicating with others. That's one of the difficulties of it, but it will come at the last minute. There have been a lot of pressure worldwide. Some groups don't want to move fast, but that always happens whenever you have a change of technology. You remember very well when we were going from analog to digital. Even some developed countries were saying, "How come you want to make me to go digital?" You know, it was like committing a crime. Now we laugh about it, but that's how it is. I've been involved with change of technologies over my career, especially in the satellite industry, where we were going from one access technology to another very quickly. Sometimes, just a matter of 5 years, we change technology, and there's always resistance, even from industry. Industry will tell you, no, we can't do that. So you have to be able to be firm, to push to the limit, and then go and with the research and development. Okay, they'll find one of them will find a way to do it quick, and then others will follow. That has always happened in all of the technologies that have been put in place over the past 30 years that I've been involved in the industry. I'll give an example. When I was in Intelsat in Washington, I mean, we used to send people around the globe to tell them that competition is not a good thing. Privatization, because there was a new satellite company coming in, it was a crime. When you think about it now, it's really a ridiculous, but these are the things. And when you're going from one simple access model like CPC to TDMA, subdivision, cloud accessing, or single channel from single channel per frequency per carrier, CPC to TDMA, wow, people don't want to change. But that's how industry evolves, but they always come down to reality. The ladies are silent. At least I'm very pleased to see good presence of ladies here. I almost balanced. That's very, very encouraging. The average age is very young. I feel very old in this room, but it is very encouraging to me that you are giving to the young generation opportunities to produce. And let me tell you, I met people from the ministry, from the regulatory authority yesterday, and I was very much impressed by the level of knowledge that people have in their issues, especially very, very impressive. The way you are breaking this line of English. Any other question? Yes, please.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Lupita Chávez, trabajo para el Poder Judicial costarricense de Desarrollo como coordinadora del programa Hacia Cero Papeles, la eliminación del papel en la justicia con la ayuda de las tecnologías. Escuchando su conferencia, me queda la inquietud del desarrollo de las institucionalidades del país. Las instituciones públicas como tales, que bien sabido no están en igual desarrollo que la competencia privada. Quisiera que nos diera algunos consejos para poder lograr los propósitos desde el derecho público, de la parte pública de los países.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I'm glad that your department is paperless. Actually, you should know that even the ITU started becoming paperless in 2007. When I first came, we were using tons of paper, and in January 2007, my first major decision was to make paperless environment in ITU. We were like the shoemaker who doesn't have a shoe. We were not using the tools that we were advocating ourselves. And it actually cost the job of one head of IT department. Because the head of the IT department, when I said I want paperless environment, start with my conference room, my floor, 14th floor building. And then to go down to every other floor and conference rooms that are in the basement as well. He came to me in the afternoon saying, "Oh, trying to discourage me from doing that." And I was surprised. The head of IT department would have been normally excited to do this job. So unfortunately, he was simply asking. So I told him, frankly, I said, "Look here, better not to continue with you because you'll not be appointed on this job. I will find somebody else who can do it." And today, paperless environment is reality in the ITU. In fact, at the last international conference in Guadalajara in October, we had about 2,500 delegates. We processed 15,000 pages of the distribution. That comes to about 35 million, 40 million pages normally if we were working in a normal environment. Fortunately, more than 92% of the delegates had laptops, and the remaining were I have a pool of laptops that I give delegates when they come so that they can use paper. We had only 1 or 2% of delegates who asked for paper copies. So we saved a lot. So what I'm trying to say here that, in fact, I had the idea not from private sector. I had the idea of paperless environment focused on government. I went to some government in a third world where government ministry, the cabinet of ministries is meeting on paperless environment. They have that lives in many places, and ask ITU to provide this key for them. The KPI, the PKI that is used was the standard made by ITU for security. If you talk about paperless environment, you need also to be safe because there are a lot of confidential information. So I believe that it is an issue of the leadership. The leadership has to decide to do it. It's even more efficient and more economical if you go on to use more of IT. Today when I'm meeting with my senior environment, I mean, any new document, that we think of immediately can be on everybody's desktop, and we communicate. We can go back to any information in the archives and simultaneously help us make decisions fast. And therefore, governments have to decide this issue, and once they decide, it comes to national security. decided it's good because you will give an opportunity for private sector to have more business. You see, when I look at the concept of the Silicon Valley, how it was created after World War II, there was some university professors or engineers who were discovered something, what teaching those. Government told them to make them, and then government will buy the first service for its own provisions. And that's what how the Cisco's, the Intels were created in Silicon Valley. So coming back to government, the government is using the opportunity trigger in making the demand happen and paying the first dollars that we make the experience. And I believe that's very important. So it all comes down to leadership. Leadership should decide with the necessary regulatory framework, a strategy that will enable business to work. And therefore, we have opportunity. In some countries like Korea, government is even more efficient than industry. It's more difficult to be a member of the government when the salaries are lower than to be in the private sector. They have very tough competition for any position that they have in government positions. And people fight for it. And government is good more efficient. So I believe that can happen.
Estamos transmitiendo vía internet, no sé si quieren alguna consulta.
Cuando hablamos de seguridad en línea, digamos, ¿qué estrategias o qué nos aconseja para implementar aquí en Costa Rica? Sabemos que el avance tecnológico pues avanza muy rápidamente, ¿verdad? Al igual que la otra parte que son los ataques cibernéticos, para ver qué nos aconseja en cuanto ya sea implementar alguna organización específicamente para la seguridad de la información, ¿verdad? Y a la sociedad civil.
Su nombre y la institución.
Okay. Mi nombre es Marco Aurelio Macías Monge, represento en este momento al Colegio de Informáticos.
That's a very good question, and things are moving so fast that if you can buy some equipment today and be outdated very quickly, and you need constantly to upgrade it, of course. This is why there is need for international cooperation. This is why IQ signed an MOU for our impact. The impact is a center that is in Malaysia, Cyberjaya. It's called the International Multilateral Partnership Against Cyber Threats that has all the necessary equipment and that can be linked to any country to help to monitor it and take out. That's one part of the problem. First, you need to have a national agency. President Chichia yesterday signed a decree to create a national commission for child online protection. That's really one very important thing. Second, you have the national laws that will criminalize crime. And we have in ITU sets of best practices that many countries have used that to improve their own national law. We don't make those, but we help make them so that will give you experiences that happen here and there, so that you don't have to reinvent or make mistakes that have to make and take into account all of the parameters of the problem. The third, of course, is capacity building. And we really need to have private sector involvement, because today security is embedded in the chips that are being made. Security is embedded in the software that are being made, and therefore they all need to be part of the problem. This is why when I was this morning in my interview with the journalist in Los Angeles Times, he was asking me about what elements they put into the cyber treaty, global cyber treaty. The very important element that is important here is that if you want to put a cyber treaty, you will never be able to do it among governments alone. 192 member states can no longer sit around the table and do a cyber treaty. In the cyberspace, a treaty will be one of its kind because private sector needs to be there around the same table. So we need to have that mental readiness of accepting private sector there, of accepting even civil society to be part of the negotiating stakeholders. So that is the problem in this cybersecurity issue. That we in ITU strongly believe in the power of the private sector, and we are strongly advocating they know that being seen in the private sector member is not a crime. We've been able to deal with them. We need to regulate the private sector. That's what happened in the financial business, where there was lack of regulation has conducted to a crisis. Lack of regulation in our sector will lead to a crisis as well. And in fact, when I was talking about some of the challenges, there's one major challenge we face that has nothing to do with cybersecurity that I need to mention here. It's something that we organized in 2012. It's called the International Telecomunications Regulations, the ITR, a big conference that I'm organizing in 2012. I have not been focusing on it since during my first term because it's 2012, and since I knew my elections were coming in 2010 this year, I wouldn't bother to deal with something in 2012, not knowing if I'll be elected or re-elected. Now that I've been re-elected, I'm facing this issue. It's called the International Telecommunications Regulation, but the name it sounds very neutral. But what's behind it is very important. What is behind it is the international exchange between the operators, tarification, global exchange of money. And we need to make a paradigm shift in the approach. Today, the exchange between operators is based on 3 elements. Time of a phone call, and second of 5 minutes cases, distance, and location. And now we're no longer selling that. We're selling bits and bytes. So the problem has completely shifted. Now, how do we do that to making sure that people will still invest in telecommunication infrastructure, knowing that today people will send, some people sending spams are getting money for advertising from the spam that they're sending, and they're sending millions of them per day because they're not paying anything. It's the recipient who is paying for it. It's a fundamental problem. If we don't fix it in 2012, 5 years later there will be a financial crisis in this sector. Like the internet bubble was in 2002, 2001, 2002. That's exactly what happened 5 years in 2007, in 2017, my prediction. So it's my job to make sure that we come with an international agreement on how we're going to have exchanges, how we're going to have clarification between operators. And in that also, I'm consulting now with all stakeholders, private sector, and then internet service providers, content developers, we need to bring in all together to take into account their positions and their needs so that they will not lose out in the process, so that they win. So that people continue to invest in infrastructure. So I call it our next go around as the analogy to the go around of WTO, but more successful go around this time. Yeah, it is very important topic, and but the name is very natural, international ITR, international telecommunications regulations. But behind it is a very powerful idea, a powerful problem. And if you don't solve it, it will be the law of the jungle. The strongest are going to impose the rules, and that's not good. But in fact, that's what is happening today. And it's not good if it continues. So we need to bring it in. So this is problem. So that otherwise nobody will invest in a political fiber, because it's those who are at the end who are using, who are getting money, and you are not getting anything for the toll that people are passing on the road. So that's the biggest problem, because content is more important now than the infrastructure itself. Content is what brings money. How that content is passing to that's one of the implications. And in addition, of course, one could think of the whole way of routing internet. It's not efficient the way it is today. One needs to find a better way to make it happen. That's where we are talking about the next generation. We're working very closely with people like Bob Kahn, their mentor of TCP/IP, to see the future of what our members all in China. Bob Kahn is a very well-known figure in the sector of IT, who are working very closely, and also leaders of the industry.
Now that you mentioned about conflicts and new schemes to solve them, Dr. Touré, would you give us a few minutes of how the ITU is working with the Internet Governance Forum of the UN, how this process is going along, and how important this multi-stakeholder approach is, please?
The IGF is a very good question that I've been always avoiding. Carlos, you are like a journalist now asking me a question that I avoid. Because, why I avoid it? Because for many years, ITU was accused of trying to take over the internet governance. You know, and I always say that there's a need for us, the internet society, and the telecom society to work together. During the World Summit on Information Society process, the WISIS, that ITU organized in 2003 and 2005, when I was explaining to ministers the link between these two societies, I was comparing to highways and cars and trucks. We own the highway. The internet people will own the cars and trucks that are transporting the goods. And I would say, it's not because you own the cars, the roads, that you have to own the cars and trucks that are running on them. And certainly not the goods that they're transporting. Now, but in order to make the traffic efficient for a smooth for the cars and the trucks, you need to know their weight, their height, the size, the number of traffic that will cars that will be on the road, so that you size the highway, number of lanes, and the bridges height and the strongness of the bridges. Otherwise, they will collapse, or a truck will not be able to pass under a bridge which is not high enough. Therefore, there is a need for us to work together. So in the IGF process, I participated personally. My predecessor, the former Secretary General, had a very negative view about the IGF process. because it was created during the World Summit on Information Society that we organized, IT organized this World Summit. And I had a completely different attitude. I said, we need to work with them. And I've attended every single IGF except the last one, which was very close to my presidential conference, unfortunately. The one I was there was 1 week before maybe I heard something about things. So, but some people want to transfer the IGF and the ITU, the talks is going on. I'm saying it needs to keep the multi-stakeholder nature of it. If that's what they want to do for management purposes, for ITU, I will accept it in that case. But it has to keep that multi-stakeholder nature of it. But the reason why I did not insist that ITU gets it, because we don't have a perfect structure. We have private sector and public sector working together, but public sector is too much dominating. And it may slow down some of the things of internet if it does interfere too much. We want to avoid take politics out of internet. Even though we're technically oriented, there is still a little bit of politics. So I'm saying we're not perfect to the point of trying to get that, and we will never be perfect. But I have plenty of my plate. Spectrum management, satellites, standardization. It's beautiful. Why should I look at the neighbor's plate and say, oh, I like this better? No, I have a lot of things to do, and it's a very noble cause that we're defending. But we need to work together. In addition, this problem has been always raised. Why? Because there are some things also that are not perfect in the internet world. It needs to be fixed. And I've been I went to their ICANN board meeting, and I told them that too. In a very cooperative manner. There are some countries, some cases where a country's code is hijacked by someone. It is because the person has had the idea to register that 10, 15 years ago, when the country did not have any involvement in internet issues, but didn't know about it. And by maintaining this thing from his basement on a regular basis, he will ask millions to be paid by the country if he wants to be transferred. It's not fair. And there are many countries that come to us when it comes to managing those things, to try and force the ICANN and its other subsidiaries to make things happen, to transfer the things to the right countries. And we've been very forceful in pushing that. But I believe in the power of collaboration, and there is a room for everyone.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Ramón Gasco y pertenezco a la organización Expo Telecom. En días anteriores estuvimos en una presentación de diferentes personalidades internacionales con videos y mucha información educativa en ese aspecto. Se tocó el tema del fenómeno del 2020, lo que va a suceder dentro de 10 años. Se habla que vamos a tener 50 billones de conexiones a través de dispositivos móviles en apenas 20 años. Eso es un reto, pienso, tremendamente educativo para los gobiernos, en cómo afrontar la problemática de una población con 50 billones de conexiones, gente conectada, recibiendo información constante desde todo punto de vista. Estamos preparados para dentro de apenas de 10 años recibir esa cantidad de información. Está la población preparada desde el punto de vista educativo para manejar tanta cantidad de información entrante y saliente, presentando un problema de ciberseguridad tan grande en apenas 10 años. Gracias.
I fully agree with you that security is a great challenge for us. But the question is, can you stop it? You cannot stop it. So we have to deal with it. people will always have appetite for information. This is the only thing that will never stop. And therefore, we need to have the capability of processing it and making good use of it and deal with its security parts of it. It's every country's obligation to protect its citizens and to make information at their disposal as well. But I believe that if we use it properly, we're going to make our lives much more easy. I mean, I look at the amount of information I process now with my own children when they are at university. When I was at university, I would send a letter, take 1 month to my parents, and 1 month back. When I was in Russia at the time, Soviet Union, believe me, to receive a letter from home. Some of your friends from other schools come and congratulate you. Say, hey, congratulations, I heard you received a letter today. That was what's happening just 40 years ago. You know, and today I see my kids on Skype every day, wherever they are. It is unbelievable. The amount of information we continue to process will continue. And we need to just be sure that we get ready to make good use of it. And the development of a country will can be measured by the volume of information that passes through that country. Because it's a speed of information, of exchange of information, that will be the key driver. And you need not to have any natural resource. The natural resource required is here, it will be 2 years. It's human brain, but you need to train them. And you need to train the children at school. We now ask our children when they come from home, from school, how was your day at school? We should be asking them, how was your day in cyberspace? So they'll be certain. There will be predators. There are all sort of people, when they're going out in the street, we tell them not to follow a stranger, not to accept a candy from someone they don't know, could be trouble. We don't tell them not to follow someone in cyberspace. 3 out of 5 children give away information about themselves or their family in a very naive manner to someone they have never met, that they will never meet, that can use that information later on. You might as well receive a proposal for some type of music because someone asks you, son, oh, what kind of music your dad loves? And you tell him, oh, he loves salsa music. And then you start receiving something very naively. It's not a dangerous information, like it could be. So we need to work in ensuring that the files of volume of information are coming also, that we have the capability of dealing with them and with our children as well. Educating our parents, and this is what we're doing with the GGR. That's what's happening here. Our parents, children, and the teachers will be working together in communicating and ensuring that they will do right. Empowering the children themselves, because we're not going to have you as a Mr. Set up, presented yesterday. You're not going to have a policeman behind every child. No. If you train them well enough, they will be able to they will survive us. They will determine some and healthy behaviors that communicate the right. You have to put the right framework for that.
I think that we need to think about research and development locally, in every country and globally too. But I think that the area of telecommunications in this country still needs a stronger body of knowledge behind it. I think we need universities to become more involved in this area, both in terms of developing new programs associated to telecommunications, but also in doing research and development both at the technological level and at the cultural or sociological and educational level. I think there is a great concern about many issues like the opening of the telecommunications market, is it good or bad, and issues of regulation. You see this topic every day in the news, every day. Everybody's following what is happening with the opening of the process, but there is very little preparation in terms of the knowledge base and the technology production that are required. So I think that this has to go from being just a topic we talk about or we follow as a political and technological issue, and it has to become a concern from the point of view of understanding and production.
I fully agree with that, and this has been the success, the reason for the success of the American model, the research and development, and the work of academia. This is actually one of the reasons why in the last production conference I requested our membership to agree to have bring academia as a member of the IGU at very low cost, which they have approved as well. So we have that big application. But the importance of academia is important in two areas. One, research and development. They will help to help this period out. And also that collaboration with academia and both government and private sector in order to define and predict the curriculum of the work that will happen 5 years from now, and be able to start training people so that when they come out of university, they are right for the workforce. And the industry also ready to absorb it with that application that they are going to use now. And there's quite a lot of work of preparation from the research and development, and that goes behind in order to make it right. And US has succeeded very well in that. And that's one area where Europe has failed. A few countries in Asia are being very successful. Malaysia, Korea, Japan are doing very successfully. But some European countries are completely failed because they are no link between academia and the industry. There's no link between research and development and government strategy as well. And that's right. Like child of science, because you see that opportunity.
De ser así, agradecemos al señor Ture por su amable disposición y por haberse tomado el tiempo de compartir con nosotros esta mañana. Agradecemos a todos los presentes por habernos acompañado. En nombre del Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología ha sido un placer tenerlos acá con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias.
I would like to thank the translator behind the scene who has been very, very helpful in making sure that I could get people here. Thank you very much again.
Muchas gracias. Ahora pueden pasar por un refrigerio. Muchas gracias.